Hi there, my name's Janie Henderson and I'm part of the pedagogy team. And this is a short video which explains how to use East Lothian Council's Diagnostic Numeracy assessments to assess and plan numeracy teaching and learning. The assessments themselves are in the Numeracy shared drive in the assessment folder. They contain skill-based numeracy questions and they assess the learning that is outlined in the frameworks. There is an assessment for each part of the framework: numbers and numerals or place value, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and fractions, decimals and percentages. And there are assessments for each stage from on track in nursery through to on track in P7. Here is how your video links with the GTC standards for full registration. It addresses Standard 3.1.4, which focuses on effectively employing assessment, evaluating progress and recording and reporting as an integral part of teaching and learning. This video links to the Learning Sale in East Lothian, which highlights the importance of practitioners continuously reflecting on their practice and using data to improve the learner's experience. So the aim of this video is to gain an understanding of how to use the numeracy diagnostic assessments as a tool for planning. And in this short video, we're going to outline why you can use the diagnostic assessments, how you use them, when you would use them, what resources are required, and how you would record the responses. So thinking about why you might use these assessments, these diagnostic assessments have been designed to support you in the planning and teaching of numeracy in East Lothian. They identify where pupils are in their learning, what they can do, but they also identify gaps in numeracy learning. They provide opportunities for teachers to closely observe pupils, to see how they break down problems, and so this allows the teacher to identify and understand strategies that learners are using. Teachers can then use what they observe and what their learners record as evidence when planning next steps linked to the content in the framework. And this can then inform groupings in the class for the next block of teaching. So how do you administer them? Well, they can be carried out in ability groups, or in some specific cases, they could be administered individually. They should be administered by the teacher. They aren't completed independently by the learner. It's not like a worksheet which every child should complete independently. This is a teacher-directed activity, which can be administered as part of the numeracy lesson, while other learners in the class complete independent tasks. It's important that you as the teacher observe, listen to and record the pupil's strategies and responses. They can be selected according to the skills the pupils have been taught, rather than the skills that they are yet to be taught. Because the questions are skill-based, they don't have any lengthy word problems, but it's up to you as the teacher to use an assessment that will assess learning that has already been taught. So for example, in a primary 6 class, where there is a group of learners in the class that are on track, but perhaps they haven't been taught any work on fractions, decimals or percentages yet, then you as the teacher would assess this group using the on track 5 fractions assessment. If the learners found this assessment too tricky, then you could choose and move to the on track 4, or maybe lower down than that, to establish what the learners can do and where the gaps are in their learning. But similarly, if the learners perform particularly well at on track 5, then perhaps you could try assessing them at on track 6. So you can see how these assessments are very learner-led. If pupils are finding questions challenging, or if they are very confident, then perhaps you don't need to use all the questions. It's up to you to use your professional judgment and use the assessments flexibly to meet your needs, so that you can elicit what your learners can and can't do within your chosen topic. When administering the assessments, each learner can perhaps work on a different example within a question. For example, teachers could give different cards or number lines to each pupil using the resources and then swap over so that children are able to copy answers from each other. It's up to you to be flexible when you administer the assessment and make it work for you. So when do you use these assessments? Well, these assessments can be used at different times. They might be used prior to a block of new teaching on a specific topic. They might be used with a new pupil who starts within a class or within a group. They might be used to confirm an individual's progress within the group after a block of teaching on a specific key topic. Teachers can use a selection of these examples flexibly throughout the year. So what resources are required? Well, what you as the teacher say when you're administering the assessment is written in italics on the assessment itself. This ensures consistency across teachers who are all administering the same assessment, but also across settings. The red text on the assessment lets the teacher know that a resource is required for the question. So it's important as the teacher that you look at these assessments before you administer them in order to prepare and organise the resources in advance and decide how you're going to manage them with your group of learners in front of you. Learners will probably require a whiteboard or perhaps some blank paper that they can record their calculations and strategies on them so that the teacher can then observe these strategies and the working and use them and record them onto their master assessment paper. So how can you record these learner responses and your observations? Well, when administering the assessment, you can use the assessment itself to make notes about how the learners are responding. So in this assessment that's on the screen, the teacher was assessing 4 learners and their learners' names and initials were written at the top in the 4 boxes. The teacher then used a code to mark and record as they went along. So in this example, 1 tick was used to show an answer that was correct, 2 ticks showed that the learner was able to recall the answers quickly, and 3 dots showed that they needed some thinking time to answer. There's then some notes around strategies or wrong answers that have also been recorded on this assessment, and some learners weren't asked some of the questions in questions 2C, D and E because they were too tricky. These observations and notes can then be used by you as the teacher to plan your teaching and learning. They don't need to be submitted to the senior leadership team. They're for your use, but they do provide evidence that informs your planning, but also your report writing or evidence to support feedback to parents or colleagues or achievement of a level. So finally, where are these assessments stored? Well, they're available in the assessment folder in the Numeracy Framework shared drive, along with all the resources. Thanks for listening.